News Hour on Canal English, and our top stories for tonight. Ghost Town was effective today in the chief town of the Southwest region despite moves from the mayor to see activities resume. The ongoing crisis in the English-speaking parts of the country is having far-reaching consequences on construction works in some parts of the Northwest region. Most projects have been abandoned. And we come back to the weekend protest by the Cameroon Renaissance Movement and violence perpetrated on some Cameroonian embassies abroad. Development will be yours right ahead. The mayor of Boya, Ekema Patrick, for the second consecutive week, has tried to force citizens of Boya to overcome their fears and not respect the Monday Ghost Town Day. Yesterday, documents of some taxi drivers were seized and taxis were parked at the council premises. Today, almost no taxi could be seen circulating, and very few traders braved all odds. But the whole town was paralyzed. For businesses were closed. Ghost Town was effective this Monday, though the mayor and the governor of the Southwest region came out to evaluate the situation for themselves. The Cameroon Renaissance Movement, the CMR party, has condemned government's use of violence on unarmed protesters over the weekend. The reaction in the following report with Ndimorin.
Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party has maintained that security forces used live bullets on protesters in Douala at the weekend. The party, headed by Professor Maurice Kamto, points the wounds on Barrister Michel Ntoki, Celestin Jamin and other militants injured as clear proofs. By these, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party contradicts the outing of the Ministers of Communication and that of Territorial Administration. The members of government praised the professionalism of the forces in the process of calming the tension in Douala, Bafoussam and Chang. As concerns threats of an imminent suspension or total ban of the CRM party, as stated by Minister Paula Tanganji, the party's national treasurer says is a non-event. To Professor Alain Foguet, militants of the party will continue to stand against poor governance either under a political party or as individuals. He warns equally that banning the CRM might radicalize her militants that have so far demonstrated patriotism and respect of the law and the state institutions. The party of Maurice Kamto has equally waved aside claims by the government that the protesters were carried out in total illegality. To the party, the law in Cameroon does not request a party to obtain an authorization to protest. The law to Cameroon Renaissance Movement demands just a declaration which they submitted throughout Cameroon prior to the historic January 26 protest. With the government determined to stop the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party from what she calls public disorder, political commentators say tensions still loom in the air as other opposition political parties have shown solidarity to militants of the party.
Let's now listen to what the Minister of Communication, Rene Emmanuel Sade, had to say after Saturday's protest in Douala and other parts of the country.
The political party called Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM, planned to stage a series of unauthorized public demonstrations called white marches throughout the national territory, including the 10 regional chief towns, as well as in some foreign countries around the world. Through these demonstrations, the CRM intended, as usual, to push our compatriots at home and abroad to defy the Republican order with slogans of rebellion and insurgency against legal and legitimate institutions. The announced date for the launch of these demonstrations was set for Saturday, January 26, 2019. It should be noted that all over the national territory, Cameroonians went about their business throughout the day in all serenity. Nevertheless, some attempts to disrupt public order and defy Republican institutions were recorded in the towns of Mbouda, Bafoussam, Yaoundé, and Douala. After making a fair judgment of the situation, the administrative authorities took the necessary security measures to preserve public order and bring the sponsors back into compliance with the laws and regulations of the Republic. In Yaoundé, Bafoussam, and Mbouda, several individuals caught in flagrante delicto, disrupting public order and perpetrating various assaults, were arrested and placed in custody. 62 in Yaoundé, 42 in Bafoussam, and 13 in Mbouda.
That was the Minister of Communication, Emmanuel Rene Sadi, reacting after weekend protests in some parts of the country. And 4 Cameroonian embassies abroad came under attack over the weekend as supporters of the CMR party stormed and ransacked some premises. They were in collaboration with the protest that was holding here in Cameroon. And in the following report, Regina Like Fonja Tandan says, calm has returned, but the scars are on. This report.
At Cameroon's embassy in France, calm seems to have resumed according to reports. A similar situation can be said of Cameroon's embassy in Germany and Belgium. 3 embassies, which all came under attack by anti-BIA protesters, who joined CRM protesters to denounce what they describe as electoral hold-up. These amateur videos show how at least 50 protesters invaded Cameroon's embassy in Paris before ransacking the place, pulling down the picture of the head of state and other effigies of the state during the weekend. Local French police immediately rushed to the scene and ushered out protesters who reportedly continued their protests on the streets. Reports equally say some of the protesters were arrested. At the Cameroon's embassy in Belgium, protesters equally took over the embassy briefly before the intervention of the police. It was a similar scenario at Cameroon's consulate in Germany, where protesters pulled down the picture of the head of state and replaced it with that of the CRM president Maurice Kamto, who has continued to dispute the last presidential election's result. Maurice Kamto says the peaceful protests are to denounce what he described as electoral hold-up and government's failure to solve the crisis in the northwest and southwest region. Over at Cameroon's embassy in America, dozens of CPDM supporters who came to demonstrate what they call solidarity with the regime were simply sent away, according to reports. However, a caterpillar was later on found at the doors of the embassy to prevent any sort of manifestation. It will be recalled the series of manifestations at different embassies abroad was in solidarity with protesters of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Party of Maurice Kamto, who took to the street on Saturday to denounce what they described as electoral hold-up, disputing the results of the last presidential elections.
The Saturday protest has provoked mixed feelings amongst social media users, and in the following report, Crystal Katala visited some of the social media sites and now reports.
January 26 will remain a memorable date for Cameroonians. Several manifestations took place in some regions across the country and abroad. The incident sparked multiple reactions on social media amongst government officials. A release by the SDO of Opankam announces the arrest and detention for 72 hours of 8 persons who took part in the protest march qualified by authorities as public disturbance. In a tweet, the Assistant Secretary General of the CPDM Committee, Gregoire Owona, talks of militants and sympathizers who have crossed the danger zones. He precises that it is inadmissible and unacceptable. According to him, the act should be punishable. Another tweet, that of Public Health Minister, states, "We will never accept that persons of bad faith or wrongly informed try to destroy our beautiful and beloved country." For other internet users, the Cameroon Renaissance movement has to be prudent. The so-called corrupted opposition is struggling to infiltrate his movement to destroy. Others say authors of acts of vandalism in France have eaten more than they can chew. They have to assume the consequences. Calixte Béala, renowned writer, has announced the arrest of protesters, even those with French nationalities. She says they will just be expelled. Meanwhile, the picture of Serge Espoir Matomba of Puce on the bedhead of Celestin Jamin, injured during protest, has gone viral on social media. Canada-based correspondent in France, Eric Goff-Kwachu, is thanking each and everyone for support after he was arrested while exercising his duty. This is how some internet users reacted on social media following the January 26 protest march.
We now move over to the Northwest region, where a peace advocate, Abdul Karim, has condemned his arrest over the weekend by elements of the judicial police. He opened up to Canal the English and spoke to our own D. Morin.
The town of Bamenda recently took to panic when one of her sons, Abdul Karim, was arrested by elements of the judicial police force. Arrested yesterday at about 4 p.m., the Muslim faithful and peace advocate was detained for charges he is yet to be told. At a briefing with Canal, the winner of the multiple peace awards had been blunt about injustice, which he says is a clear indicator of the abuse of human rights, cognizance of the fact that no legal document was issued to him.
But the investigator or the other officers did not mention that. They have not told me to this point what I did. I've asked and they've not given me any answers. But it's worth noting that soon after the arrest, they brought me back home, searched the house, took me to the office, searched the office, and they didn't find whatever they were looking for. So I don't know exactly what would have motivated this. And holistically, I've been talking about justice and peace, and the last interview with Mourinho focus on peace and the procedures of obtaining an ID card. So it could be that maybe that also served as the last stroke that broke the camel's back, or I don't know, but they didn't mention it, and to this moment I don't know.
To him, there exists a growing need for peace, which is not necessarily reflected by the absence of war. He highlighted the purported informants and so-called extremists who take to fault at the talk of injustice, which to him remains the gateway to a positive and credible development. However, after a thorough search at his home and his belongings, he was let to go. In thanking the entire friends community of Bamenda who took the social media to fight for his release, his home, which received him at 6 a.m., was turned to an atmosphere of guile as a celebration of his release was saluted.
We remain in the northwest region where construction works in Bui have come to a standstill as the crisis in the two English-speaking regions of the country continue to deepen. Even the project to extend the Palace in Kumbo, which was expected to have been complete by now, has been abandoned. This and more in the following report with Ambo Gladys Dibang.
Work on the extension of the Insop Palace in Kumbo in the Bui division in northwest Cameroon has been grounded due to the degenerating crisis rocking the two English-speaking regions of the country. This work was expected to have been completed, but difficulties in purchasing building material have been delaying the proper execution of the project. Due to constant roadblocks, contractors and suppliers find it hard to transport material. Worse still, workers have all escaped due to sporadic gunshots.
If you sit in a throne like myself and you don't show your own development in the palace, that means you are not all that okay. So I decided to ask my people to help me so that we can make a new development in the palace.
The situation is same in other localities in the Bui division. Most construction works have been abandoned, like this one in Kikaikilaiki.
My people should not be dying as a kid, as I'm seeing. Just dying every day. No, I don't like it. If you are a Gainako and you want that your people should die like this, then you don't know where you are. I'm just begging them, just both sides, just to allow all those killing.
The Bui division has been one of the hardest hit areas since the Anglophone crisis escalated, and with the degenerating situation and security threats, there are fears that inhabitants of Kumbo might take long to construct houses.
Will remain in the Bui division where aid workers catering for internally displaced persons in Kumbo have been cautioned to operate without any discrimination. This was during a two-day workshop organized by the Catholic Church to train volunteers on how to cater for these people without infringing on their rights. Regina Leke Fonjatanda tells us more.
For 2 days, these men and women brought together by the charitable arm of the Catholic Church, Caritas, were part of a training that sought to lay out modalities as far as catering for internally displaced persons is concerned. The workshop had as objective to groom the workers to go about the charitable mission judiciously.
It involves assembling data, analyzing the data, identifying and reaching out to the appropriate areas and the real people, ensuring equal rations and, of course, proportionate justice.
The trainees were educated on core values which they must exercise during the distribution of goods to displaced persons. One of them is no to discrimination.
We have so many of the IDPs located in different places, and we have organized a team that is taking charge of how food or money could be distributed to them. And we make sure that we work with the team in such a way that the distribution is effective and there should be no discrimination. There is a team that controls from my office through Caritas and through Justice and Peace. And with this, we ensure that the receipts are already well documented in such a way that it is difficult for anybody to doubt the distribution of each of the resources.
A scheme to identify who the displaced persons really are has equally been determined.
Who are these displaced persons? Where are they from? As to the problem, what is causing them to moving here and there. They are looking for security, they are looking for peace, they are looking for calm, and so on. So at that level, identifying the displaced persons required that we send a tool down to the parishes where data was collected based on whose household has a displaced person. It is based on that document that we're able to come up with the total number of internally displaced persons in Kumbo aligned to the respective households that opened their hands to receive them.
The Bishop of Kumbo, under whose tutelage this program is placed, says inasmuch as the church is happy to be able to reach out to displaced persons, their wish is for the crisis to come to an end.
And the first solution will be that the crisis comes to an end. And when it comes to an end, then we will have time to concentrate on the really evangelical mission that the church has in Kumbo.
In the past few months, Kumbo town in particular, and Bui division in general, has been at the center of raging gun battles, causing the number of displaced persons to skyrocket.
Life is gradually gaining steam in Amshide after the locality came under heavy attack from the Boko Haram sect in 2015. A vivid proof is the health center that has again started receiving patients. This report. The Amshide Divisional Health Center is again functional some 4 years after it stopped receiving patients. Reopening its doors has brought so much satisfaction to the people in the subdivision. The Rapid Intervention Battalion, the B, has organized a health campaign as a way to strengthen relationship between the army and the people. On the 15th of October 2015, terrorists seriously attacked Amshide, what forced the people to leave. Subsequently, the health center too was abandoned. Today, we are here to provide health care and security. The people salute the action double, for the B has always stood by them in difficult moments, and life is gradually getting back to normal. We started work and now we are at our new site. I have received some 200 patients since we started. With the presence of the bee, I am not afraid.
General consultation. You have dentistry, and you have maternity. First, about the security. If you are in the security, I will tell that next day, all my colleagues will be there to receive our patient.
Though security has often been a problem, the people are gradually gaining confidence in the military. Amongst patients who came for consultation were the duo of Kolofata, Chombai Ibrahim, and the Mayor Seni Bukar Lamin, who have equally saluted the move, saying it is bringing the people closer to the military. Administrative bottlenecks and incompetent contractors have been blamed for delays in the execution of public contracts in the Mbere in the Adamawa division. Although the 2018 rate stands as satisfactory, there are hopes that this year much more better results would be produced. Amber Gladys Ntiban reports.
The construction of boreholes in the Mbere division in the Adamawa region of Cameroon, the rehabilitation of the Yafungawi road, the construction of the DIO's office, and other infrastructural projects that falls among the 84 projects being realized in the Mbere division within the 2018 budgetary year are either delaying, suspended, or totally abandoned. This has been blamed on the cumbersome process involved in the disbursement of funds, administrative bottlenecks, and incompetent contractors imposed sometimes by central services. As a result, these affect the execution rate of projects. At the fourth session of the Mbere Follow-up Committee meeting, participants, however, expressed satisfaction with the 53.37% execution rate for 2018, which is far above that of the previous years.
C'est qui est vraiment appréciable parce qu'au dernier comité,
the result so far has been appreciated because during the last committee meeting, the result we noted was less than 50%. That notwithstanding, most of the companies in charge of the project are not serious. Some have abandoned, and we do not know where to find them. As such, some of these projects will take years to complete. Stakeholders on their part are worried and wish proper screening be done in the award of contracts. When a contract is launched in June, how do you expect the project to be completed on time? We have to make clear proposals on companies to be recommended. They are either chosen because they performed well in their last projects or bad in any of them. The Mbere division has benefited from 100 projects this year to be executed with an allocated sum of slightly above 1 billion CFA francs. Stakeholders are optimistic that this 2019 they will meet their objectives.
Some youths in the town of Douala say they are very determined to create jobs so as to curb unemployment. They were reacting after a training organized by the Ministry of Youth and Civic Education in prelude to the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day. Crystal Katsala reports.
These youths are keenly listening to business counselors. They are determined to curb unemployment and create jobs. The seminar is organized in Douala by the Ministry of Youth and Civic Education in prelude to the 53rd edition of Youth Day. We are here to train over 20 youths on entrepreneurship, who are not going to be job seekers, but creators of opportunities and jobs. We can only seize these opportunities and bring our technical support and orientation. The training concerns multifunctional centers in Douala 1 to 6, divisional and regional centers. But we also have young students who came with their personal initiative. We have more than 180 youths in the hall who came to take part in the training, which is free. We think we have attained our objective. Participants who came from the 6 subdivisions in the Wuri division have been empowered on topics to promote self-employment. For most of them, it has been quite enriching. Today, I can decide to start my own business and be independent without being a civil servant or working under somebody. I have retained that business format is the most important part which precedes business plan. With this training, the youth say they have received necessary tools to avoid idleness and be self-employed.
Some leprosy patients in the south region of Cameroon have benefited from the largesse of the Serak women. The ladies went with medication and other basic necessities. This was as the world observed the 66th edition of World Leprosy Day. More on this with Beatrice Ngamu.
People affected by leprosy are believed to experience some form of stigma and discrimination, and half of them will face mental health issues such as depressions or anxiety. Sensitive to these concerns, the Circle of Friends of Cameroon Serak, on the occasion of the World Leprosy Day, January 27, went to the heart of the Equatorial Forest to commune with vulnerable population, former patients and those still receiving treatments at the Lepra home situated at Ngalan village, Villa division of the South region of Cameroon. At the head, the personal representative of Cameroon's First Lady and founding president of Serak, Beatrice Evumeko, with the message, 0 new cases of child leprosy, meaning no child should be contaminated by leprosy here in Cameroon. And the efforts of all authorities, parents, educators, health personnel, social workers, internet influencers, and all community leaders, important for the fight. Serak's words were accompanied by action, gifts to support these leprosy persons, medication, clothing, basic necessities and other foodstuffs such as rice, cooking oil, beans, smoked fish, sardine, all contained in bags, and a cow to boost the day's celebration.
Votre maman, Madame Chantal Biya, vous souhaite bonne fête.
These are efforts to ensure their social reinsertion and full enjoyment of their civic and political rights on cause, especially as all Cameroonians are needed for the country to reach her emergence. Leprosy is a neglected tropical disease, the occurrence of a patch on the skin that makes it lose its sensitivity. A permanent alert imperative, as early detection leads to an early treatment and all related complications are avoided. Leprosy treatment is free. The message of the day that will go a long way to end discrimination, stigmatization, and prejudice. The theme for the 66th edition.
We now talk religion, where a campaign to distribute 1 million copies of the divisional daily Rhapsody of Realities has been launched in Cameroon. This was during a church service Sunday at Christ Embassy in Yaoundé. Beatrice Gamus sat through the launch and now reports.
Cameroon in particular and Central Africa as a whole needs spiritual nourishment now more than ever before. And the Rhapsody of Reality, daily meditation on the Word of God by Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakilome, a way out. Making this weapon available to Christians, the engagement taken by Christians of Christ Embassy January 27 in Yaoundé.
We are launching a special program to distribute more than 1 million copies of Rhapsody of Realities. Man is a spirit and requires absolutely spiritual nourishment. We are therefore inviting everyone to join us to give spiritual food to Central Africa and to Cameroon in particular.
Translated in some 104 world languages and 7 Cameroon local languages, the book is to uplift the growth and spiritual development of individuals. The Rhapsody is in different versions for the different age groups.
We have Rhapsody for kids, we have Rhapsody for early readers, we have Rhapsody for teenagers, which we call TiVo, we have Rhapsody for adults, and then we have Rhapsody Topical Compendium.
This to solve problems and challenges the various age groups do face.
Teenagers have things like peer pressure and all those kind of things. With TiVo, they'll always have a solution to it. It's also a form of evangelizing, letting the world know what Jesus Christ came to do for them and the kind of liberty he brought for them. Praise the Lord.
The different editions are available all 12 months of the year, distributed free of charge all over the world.
And in sports, football teams this weekend boycotted the start of the 2019 football season. Club presidents are insisting that the president of the Professional Football League must organize a general assembly before any kickoff. This and more with Tabby Clarkson.
The 2019 football season failed to kick off this weekend as earlier scheduled by General Pierre Semengi, the president of the National Football Professional League. Saturday at the Yaoundé Military Stadium, both Eding Football Club and Young Sports Academy of Bamenda did not show up for the opening match. For what they say, a general assembly has to be organized before effective kickoff of the 2019 football season. Sunday at the Yaoundé Omnisport Stadium, the match Tonnerre Calara Club of Yaoundé versus Union Sportif of Douala did not also take place because the Kamakai boys of Union Sportif of Douala were absent. The boys of the Mvogada team, Tonnerre Calara Club of Yaoundé, who are making a comeback in the National Division 1 Football Championship, were present and excited to play. The match officials were also present, same like the forces of law and order, who came to guarantee security. To the officials of Tonnerre Calara Club of Yaoundé, it is a big disappointment as some teams have decided to boycott the effective kickoff of the 2019 football season. Whatever be the case, Tonnerre Calara Club of Yaoundé is very ambitious this year.
It not depend on TKC. TKC was there and we are there. We will be there. We still be there. It depends on the Union Sportive of Douala. But I say that when I talk to you to say I'm very glad, I'm very happy to start my champions team. We want to be champions, we want to play, we want to propose very good football to everyone who like football, the supporters and the actors. We need Cameroon to be great.
To avoid a future boycott of matches counting for day 2 and slated for this weekend, negotiations are going on behind closed doors between the Football League, Fecafoot and club president. Hopefully, let the game
Meantime, the recent informations are the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Seydou Bobonjoya, has today signed a release instructing all parties involved to settle their differences within 7 days. All legal measures would be taken so as to save the image of Cameroon's football. And with this information, we come to the end of the newscast tonight of Canal the English. Thanks for watching.